Hello, everyone. So we have the wonderful Liz and Aaron with us again today, and we're going to be answering some top student and potential student questions about the SEH certification training program, including the question, so Courtney, what happens to SEH when you die? Okay, all right. So we're gonna go there, which I think is really amazing. And then we have Aaron here. He asked some of the best questions I've ever heard. He actually is the one who offered a lot of the questions that we'll be discussing. And I was saying to him a few moments ago, a really fun way for us to start is for Aaron to ask the number one question that he would like to ask me, and then ask Liz the number one question that he would like to ask her, and then ask the number one question he would like to ask us together collectively. And then that's where we'll start. And we'll go ahead and take some other questions so you guys can write any questions that you have. Some of my people on my email list, they've sent in questions as well, so I'll be sure to answer those. I have about 15 questions. I have a feeling we're only going to get through a fraction of them, and so we'll reserve some questions about the Soul Empowering Hypnosis certification training program for another live. And so if you're watching this recording, you're like, I had questions I didn't get to ask. First of all, you can ask them and we'll answer them later during a different live. Second of all, I'm available. I can have Zoom meetings with anybody who has questions. So I just want to make sure that I put that out there, that if you're thinking about signing up, but you just have a handful of questions before you decide, yes, you do want to, then just message me and we will get a meeting for you. All right. So, Aaron, what is the number one question that you would like to ask me?
I just hope you're sure you want this question, but I'm going to give it to you.
Yeah, I love your questions. They're always good.
Have you ever asked the souls of Dolores Cannon, Michael Newton, or Brian Weiss about your work versus their work and where their work stands today?
Okay, so I think that this is very interesting. I've got maybe three different answers that I'm going to give. The first is no, I have never actually directly asked them what they think about it. But I have had some psychics and mediums say to me, hey, and it was Dolores Cannon in particular that was coming in saying, Courtney, I really like the work that you're doing. I think that it's very good, which I think is very interesting because I wasn't asking. Like it wasn't something that I was looking for information, approval, response. I wasn't. I respect all three of them, but I wasn't really looking for anything like that, and it was coming through anyway. So I find that to be really interesting. So that's my first answer. My second answer is I feel like Newton and Cannon have actually already answered by way of things that they have written in their books. So both of them have at least one book where toward the beginning, they say that they expect and hope for their work to evolve. Now, if you go into those certification trainings for LBL or for QHHT, you will see that it looks like LBL actually in the last year or two that they have started to make some changes in the scripts and so on and so forth. So there is some evolution that is now starting to take place within LBL. Unless something really surprising that I am totally unaware of has happened with QHHT, I do believe that still to this day that they are staying really tight with what was the original script and the original teaching, and that they have not evolved it at all. So I feel that both of those teachers, Newton and Cannon, actually are very pro evolution. And I think that when you've got trailblazers like Dolores and Michael, that of course they appreciate other trailblazers that are going to take things to the next level, the next level, the next level, and are not in favor of things just holding tight and just doing it the same way that you've always done it, purely because it's the way you've always done it. Now, when it comes to Brian Weiss, he is my favorite teacher that I have ever learned from, period. That man is just so confident and so relaxed. He is just so happy for this work to be out there. I know he's good to go. That man is just he's you know how they say never meet your heroes? You can meet Brian Weiss. It'll be okay. He's not gonna disappoint you. He's fantastic. So, he's he's definitely good. And then my third answer to that wonderful question is, if we have some time on the back half of this discussion, I say we should drop in and just ask, like, hey, Brian, Michael, Dolores, want to come in, want to give some feedback? I think that would be really fascinating. So if
That
you
would be.
want to, maybe we reserve the final like 10 minutes or so for that. Does that sound good? Okay. All right. Aaron, did I answer it sufficiently?
Uh, yes, you did. You definitely did. Um, I'm gonna just jump into the basic, more basic question, and it's based on the fact that you took so many classes,
Mm.
Courtney. I first want to ask why you took so many classes, um, or why you took so many certification trainings before developing SEH. And then Liz, was your experience at all similar to Courtney's?
And is that the number one question that you want to ask, Liz?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay. So we'll go in that order. I'll start my answer and then Liz will tag you in just a second. Okay. So the reason that I took, and I should say this, it is something that I cannot avoid. I will have to talk about the other programs as we discuss SEH today. I'm a little bit hesitant to do that because I believe that everybody who is moving hypnosis forward has very good intentions and they're doing good work in the world. However, there's a reason I had to take 14 different certification trainings. And it is because none of them really got the job done. None of them really taught me what I needed to know to feel 100% comfortable and confident as a hypnotherapist. I'm a smart person. I'm a dedicated person. I practice a lot of hypnosis as a client. I practice a lot of hypnosis as a hypnotherapist. So it's not a shortcoming on my end. If I'm still having a tough time being a hypnotherapist and these certification trainings are not teaching me what I need to know, it really, listen, I will take blame when I need to take blame and responsibility when I need to take it. It really was not on me. And here's a very clear-cut example of that. You would think that every program out there would be able to have a clear answer to the question, what do you do when the client is experiencing nothing? That is every practitioner's greatest fear. It's most clients' greatest fear because they care so much about these hypnosis sessions. Some of them have been waiting for years to have these sessions. Some of them have been saving up money for a long time to have these sessions. And so the client also cares very much about that topic. What happens if I'm experiencing nothing, right? So it was my number one fear. And back when I was first a student, I didn't have the same level of confidence that I have now. And so I was terrified of that happening, but I was also really nervous and embarrassed to ask that question in front of my classmates because I didn't want to out myself in front of my classmates and have them know, like, oh, Courtney doesn't know what to do, like how embarrassing, snicker, snicker, right? Because I thought maybe it was only me in the beginning. And then, and I'm glad that I was shy about that question because it allowed me to see that every single class that I took, there was another person who would inevitably ask that question. Somebody would always ask, what do we do when the client is experiencing nothing? So that allowed me to know, okay, this is not just my fear. We all have this fear. This is not just my experience, that sometimes we end up in these situations with these clients, like other people are having this experience too. And what happened every single time is that the instructor would give a non-answer answer. They would say things like, "Oh, just follow your intuition." And I'm thinking, sure, that is good advice if the person knows how to do that. Like, we're not asking a question like this if we know how to follow our intuition. Like, we're not there. And we're also so scared of what's happening in these sessions that seemingly are falling apart because nothing is happening, that a lot of us, our intuition is getting scrambled because we're so fearful of what's happening because we don't have any tool that is reliable to help us in this situation. So I'm taking training after training after training, and nobody is answering that question. And it wasn't that I took 14 trainings just to try to find out this one answer. I really took it because all of them were deeply lacking, severely lacking in some way or another. And because I want to be the best teammate to my clients, I knew that I just had to keep taking trainings after trainings after trainings, because hopefully, I'm forever an optimist, hopefully the next training would be the one where I thought, like, this is it. This is the one that actually helps me know that every single session is going to work out. And it just never happened. 14 trainings deep, not one of them ever satisfied that. And so I ended up getting very, very lucky. I didn't think I was going, or I'm sorry, I shouldn't say it that way. How I should say it is, I did not have the intention or the plan to create a certification training program. That was never something that I was consciously thinking that I needed to do. I assumed there are all these experts out there. Somebody has already done it. I just need to figure out which one it is, and I need to take that training. Never thought that it was going to be me that would have to develop it. So luckily, what happened is I was studying to take my MHT, yet another certification training, and we were given literally about 1,000 pages to read. And I was scanning them. And luckily, in the skimming that I was doing, I ended up seeing a sentence that started to unlock everything for SEH. And the sentence was that a lot of times practitioners think that they need to offer a very protracted, long induction, and that it is necessary, it's required to get the client into the depth that they need to have a hypnosis session. And that's not true, that there are plenty of clients that are just patiently waiting for the practitioner to be done. And when I read that sentence, I was like, oh my God, I thought it was just me. Like, I thought I was the only client sitting there just waiting and waiting and waiting. And I would even have my spirit guides jokingly wrap their fingers and nails like this, waiting for an induction. I'm like, they're almost done, guys. They're almost done. They're almost done. Right? Like, everybody was just so impatient. I was like, oh my God, I thought it was just me that was waiting patiently over and over and over again for these inductions. And some of these inductions are 25, 30, 35 minutes. They go on and on and on because we're told that the client needs them. And we're told that basically we're bad practitioners if we're not delivering these really protracted inductions. So, because the universe is awesome, I read that sentence, and within just a handful of days, like not even a week goes by, and I am facilitating what is supposed to be a QHHT session. And this is one of those scripts. This is one of those programs where they say, you have to deliver the script word for word. Do not vary. Do not stray. Don't do anything different. You have to do it word for word, right? And so I say to her, this client, the very first sentence of this famous induction, and the first sentence is, if I were to say to you to see a red bird, could you see one for me? And this previously very chatty client talk during the pre-talk, talk, much like myself. And so she's sitting there and she's quiet and she's quiet and she's quiet and she's quiet. And then eventually she says, I am trying to see the red bird, but I cannot see it through all of the purple. And I was like, holy shit. She's in. She's in. And I just read that sentence a few days earlier that gave me permission to go, fuck it. And like, imagine like a cartoon, like having the script, because I have a script in a binder. Imagine like a cartoon just going like, and just chucking it out the window. I was like, we're just going to go. And so she had one of the best sessions. She had such a good session that she left me a 6-minute voicemail a few days later telling me how amazing it was. I don't get 6-minute voicemails telling me how amazing sessions are. And I was like, this is everything that I needed. I needed this key to like take the chains off, take the shackles off. I was like, we do not need to be doing these crazy long inductions anymore. And if we don't need to be doing these crazy long inductions, do we really need to be saying all of these other words? Like some of the words, like in the LBL script, it's so forceful what you were supposed to say. There's a line in there where it says something like, I'm being dead serious, I'm not exaggerating. It says something like, and you will tell me everything that I wish to know without hesitation, or, like it's really like that kind of like bad hypnotherapist that you see in the movies. Like, I have power over it. It was like, you will tell me everything that I wish to know. And I only delivered that line one time, and my client giggled because it was so absurd. And then I giggled. I was like, that is not coming out of my mouth ever again. But you're told these things that like you have to do this. And it is just patently false. You do not need to do these long inductions. You do not need to say these heavy-handed, it's like they act like you're not even guiding the client. It's like you're forcing them into this direction. And it's just totally unnecessary. So I took 14 certification trainings basically because nothing existed out there that I needed and that other practitioners need and that the clients need. And so I ended up developing it as a result of finding out we don't need the scripts. And that allowed me to facilitate flexible sessions. And once the sessions are flexible, you realize you can do anything. You're limitless. You're so limitless. And I don't mean as a practitioner, really. I mean as a client. You have unchained and unshackled the clients because you aren't bound by these scripts. And there's so much freedom that they get to experience. And their souls are just so happy to be able to be unbound and to be able to say what they need to say, go in the order they want to go in. Like you don't have to follow this, like now we go into an early childhood memory. Now we go into a past life. Now we die in the past life. Now we go into the spirit realm. No, you can just have your soul come in from the very beginning. And a lot of clients are relieved by that. They're like, I don't need to see a past life. I want to talk to my soul. They're like, wait, I don't have to go through all of this, like all of these steps. I can just talk to my soul immediately. I'm like, yeah, it could be the first thing that you do. Like it's actually oftentimes the first thing that we do in SEH. So Aaron, that's why I took 14 and it still wasn't enough. Yeah.
Liz, what was your experience like?
In taking my certifications as well.
How many did you do?
I did 2 longies, the certified clinical hypnotherapist and master clinical hypnotherapist. And in those, I got to learn clinical background of hypnosis. I got to learn how it started, all of the wonderful practitioners, Cannon, Weiss, Newton, Chips, you name it. We learned all about it. We had a lot of reading and it was really interesting, and again, fell in love with it. Then started to read books, fell in love with it. And so in the books, though, as you read them and then you start actually practicing, you realize that it is not like the books, and each client is different and each client needs something different. And so when we're boxed, I felt very boxed in. Reading you have to almost memorize the script to a certain degree, and it's pages and pages and pages. And you're very nervous. At least I can only speak for myself and my prior students that I spoke with about this. They were very nervous. And, are we going to get someone under? And thinking they would have us do things like, how deep are they? And like, the eye fluttering and the breathing and like all of these things that in SEH, it's nice that I have that background in clinical hypnotherapy. But like when I got to SEH and I was like, wait, I don't have to make sure their eyes are fluttering. I don't need to watch the way their chest is moving up and down. I don't need to make sure that the way they're responding to me is a certain tone, things like that. It was very intimidating. I was like, there's no way I'm going to learn this. Well, I did learn it. And I was actually really good at it, but I was looking for more. And when I got to SEH, the thing that basically pulled me to it was they started talking about the soul. And then all the trainings that I had done previously, there was very little mention of the soul. And I think for me, in doing my own meditations and learning how to do hypnosis on myself, because we also in those trainings, we're not taught necessarily that it's very important to have hypnosis and healing for ourselves as a practitioner. Self-care was taught, right? Go to yoga, go drink water, but like hypnosis was not a thing that was prevalent or prominent to taking care of ourselves as practitioners. So when I found SEH, that within the first session, you're receiving a session, like, excuse me, what? Okay. And I had done the practice, not the free recordings prior to that. I was like, oh, this is fun. And I heard her voice, Courtney's voice, and I was like, wow, that's really kind of soothing, right? But it was her. We're also taught how to elongate our vowels and dialect and all of that stuff. And that honestly comes naturally when you kind of go under too. I wasn't taught to go under with the client. I learned that as well. I mean, there, like, the list goes on in the difference, and I didn't know, um, you know, that that was what was going to occur. The evolvement of hypnosis from the 60s and 70s, it is a completely different, what's the word? It's just a different game. It's not what it was back then. They used to have to believe that you're at a certain depth. I mean, almost basically asleep out. Now we can open and close our eyes and still be fully aware of what's going on. And, there's no mind control, or because I mean, you're literally still in the room. So it's not, um, it's definitely not that. I know I went off on a tangent. This is something I'm super passionate about. I think the free flow of it, as opposed to the pages and pages and pages, once I was able to start to tap into that intuition because I wasn't scared anymore, of having to do X, Y, and Z, the client could sense my fear. And once I got over that, it was like, okay, like I can do this. I can do this. And so um and really I wrote down a lot of notes when Courtney was talking, and the when nothing's happening, I can vouch for that. Was my biggest fear from day one. I was like, what if it doesn't help this person? What if it doesn't happen for them? What if they're not under? And the pressure from the other certifications of like having to do X, Y, and Z, which I think is interesting, but I don't think that it is necessarily beneficial for every client. Most clients that I've had, kind of go at their own pace, and if you're able to tell when someone's under, because we've taught our clients to self advocate, hey, let me know if you start to experience something that you want to share. Please don't let me override what you're experiencing because it's your session. So I don't know if that answered your
It
question.
it does. I have two questions though
Yeah.
related to what you just said, or
Yes.
related to what you uh, just a couple things.
Yeah.
One, for both of you, when you're doing a session and you're going under with your soul, what does that change in the session as far as your connection or that soul to soul connection? How does that change the session versus a typical session?
Mm. I'll let Courtney go first unless you want me to go first.
I missed the question because I had to take notes. I have like 4 things that I'm like burning to say as in response to what Liz said. She brought up so many good points. Hey, Aaron, would you mind repeating that question? Sorry.
The the Liz is mentioning that you go under in a session, you go under with your soul and basically make a soul to soul connection during the actual session.
So you're saying
What?
the practitioner is going into a light state of
Yeah.
hypnosis while the client is also going into light state of hypnosis, and it's soul empowering hypnosis, not just for the client's soul, but also for the practitioner's soul. So there's a soul connection.
Hmm.
Yes.
How does that create a variance in a session versus a typical session
Okay. When you
as
say,
far as the flow of information?
do you mean as compared to the other styles of hypnosis?
Yes.
Okay. Well, so first of all, there is a flow. of information. And so what's very interesting, Liz was talking about how in all these other styles of hypnosis, they give you this long list of everything that you have to do in order to get them into a state of hypnosis. She did such a great job of mentioning, well, we're nervous because of this crazy long list, and we're feeling like we have to juggle all of these things. And simultaneously, the long list is not even that effective. So you're not only nervous because you're trying to get 15 things done all at once perfectly, you're also nervous because you know it is a roll of the dice if this client is even going to have a positive session, a successful session. So you have all of these nerves flowing through you. And of course, the practitioner's energy is lead. And so the client will ride the wave of your energy. And so all of it is creating this perfect storm where it's set up for failure, right? And so there is not much of a flow when it comes to these other styles of hypnosis. And as I was alluding to earlier, particularly because they tell you and they believe that you have to go through not just is there, what's their breathing like? Are their eyes fluttering? They'll even say things like, don't let them cross their hands or their feet. Are you kidding me? We're connecting with our infinite souls, and you're telling me my soul can't connect to me if my feet are crossed? I mean, it's just these ridiculous rules stacked on top of each other where I'm like, are we dealing with something that is infinite and limitless or what? It's kind of like whenever you walk into a church and they tell you to take off your hat. And I'm like, for real? Like, you're telling me the God, that Jesus, like, can't get to you? And I know it's a sign of respect. I get that it's a sign of respect. That's a totally different thing. But just in terms of like these belief systems about what has to or cannot happen, it's really ridiculous. It's a lot of humans being humans, honestly. So when it comes to soul empowering hypnosis, it's all flow. Like the entirety of it is flow, where from the very beginning, we have structured the induction even, which is only about 5 or 6 minutes. So it's already very brief and highly effective. And we have what I call you can check their temperature. You can check the client's temperature throughout that already brief induction to see if they're already in, right? And so if they are already in and they're already starting to have a session, the words that you're saying to help get them into hypnosis is actually just stalling the beginning of their session. And so a lot of times with clients with the other styles of hypnosis, they might be in hypnosis for, let's say, 90 minutes to 2 hours. 30 minutes of that is an induction. You've lost 1/3 to 1/4 of the entire session to just listening to your practitioner say words at you that you don't even need. And so there's just such a tremendous lack of flow with the other styles of hypnosis. And then with soul empowering hypnosis, it's just flow after flow after flow, and a lot of fun exercises that we teach the practitioners, so that let's say that you flow, but then the client's like, okay, where do we go next? Right? So you do need scripts, you do need prompts. It's just that none of them are rigid and none of them are mandatory. They're there to be supportive. They're there to be helpful. They're there to like kickstart it into like the next gear, whatever it is that the client might want to experience and explore next. So there's a lot of support for the practitioner. There are actually a lot of really interesting scripts. And so there's flow, but then there's also support for those things that are pre-scripted should somebody need that or enjoy having that. So Aaron, did that answer your question about flow?
Yes.
Okay.
Definitely.
Did I answer all of your question? Because I got really I latched onto that one phrase. Was there anything else I missed?
No, you got it all. But there's another part with as far as the scripts are concerned.
Mm-hmm.
Are the scripts like a tree, like a flow chart where if this, then this, if this, then this? Is that how the level? Is there levels in the scripts that you're getting?
No, not necessarily. And that actually ties into another thing that Liz was saying, where with the other styles of hypnosis, it's just page after page. I'm being very literal when I say this. The LBL script, I printed it out. It's like 20. I mean, it's large font. So it's actually, with the large font, it's more like 40 pages. Like it just goes on and on. And can you imagine somebody trying to have a session and they're just hear you like flip? I mean, and that's literally what is happening. And they will even say to you, this is how ridiculous it is. They will even say to you, when you get your binder, make sure that you get sheet protectors, those little plastic sheet protectors, so that when you're turning the pages, it's not as noisy and it's not as distracting to the client. Like that's how much of an issue, like all of this. I'm like, guys, if you could just learn how to do a proper brief induction and learn how to go with the flow of what is already happening, go with the flow of what their soul wants them to experience. Their soul knows them better than you. Their soul knows them better than the script knows them. Learn to go with the flow. You honestly need almost nothing. So those scripts are very distracting. And I would just want to make sure that I say this because I'm going to kick myself if I forget. One of the worst things about these scripts is that people cling to them as though they are the Bible. They are the way, the truth, and the light. And they cling to them so hard. And what happens, and I think it's just a pure lack of confidence. And when you cling to these scripts so hard and the way that it's supposed to go so hard due to your lack of confidence, practitioners out there who are doing this, stop doing this to your clients. You're hurting them. You make the client feel like they are messing up whenever the client's soul, whenever the client does not go with what is scripted. And I've had so many clients come to me and say, Courtney, this happened. I was not going into a past life. I felt like I was being forced to make things up. I felt like I was annoying the practitioner. I was disappointing the practitioner. And there is this arrogance that goes along with these people who like bang the drum of these scripts, and they make the client feel like they are failing at their session and they are doing it wrong. And this could not be further from the truth. Clients, if this has ever happened to you, you did nothing wrong. You just need to work with a practitioner who understands that your soul knows what's best for you and understands how to really support you in going with the flow of what your soul wants you to experience. The other great thing about going with the flow is I find it, I would say, funny, except for it frustrates me so much. And I don't like abuse. And I feel like this ultimately does result in abuse because it hurts the client and it hurts the practitioner. A lot of the practitioners don't realize that, but it's hurting them too. And so what is funny, not funny, is that these scripted sessions who say that you need all of this to be able to achieve X, Y, and Z, they're actually slowing everything down, because if you just learn to go with the flow, not only do you achieve X, Y, and Z, you achieve like 15 other things in the session too, because the SEH sessions are so efficient. If you are forcing people to go from step 1 to step 2 to step 3 to step 4, and the client doesn't want to go there and their soul doesn't want to go there, but instead you say, all right, let's go. Like, where do we go first? Inevitably, they will actually check off all of those boxes. They'll just do them in a different order, and then they'll do a bunch of other things as well. So you cover so much more ground as a result of going with the flow. And you don't have all these crazy scripts, and you don't make the client feel like they're doing something wrong. So yeah, SEH covers all that. And it's really just that we are confident that we know how to go with the flow. And part of that is dropping into hypnosis yourself as a practitioner, which I wouldn't say it's a requirement of SEH. It's just that like you get so good at hypnosis in SEH that like you like doing it. Like you just want to do it. You just naturally do it. So we're not requiring you to, but you do. You end up doing it. And so you facilitate way better sessions because you're so much more connected as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you want to add anything, Liz?
I got that was the original question. That was like a while ago. But so I think we're good. I mean, really, Courtney said we're so on the same page because we've experienced it so much with clients saying their prior experiences and or their fears about hypnosis. I heard the other day my husband was speaking with someone about hypnosis, and mind you, he prior to this was a huge skeptic, was not a he thought it was woo woo. He thought that his nickname for me was Little Witch because not like a bad, but like the little woo woo, he would like, yeah. So he was not open to it. Anyway, so now he pumps me up to people. Like if he talks about, I think hypnosis might really help you with that. Like someone had, I know it was really good, right? And so, I mean, he didn't mention me unless it got brought up. Well, how do you know about that? But a person the other day said, hypnosis, it's for weak minded people, right? And it's like, here, so me bringing that up, it made me like almost a little sad for a moment. And then I went, well, of course not. Like, we're open. We're open little vessels. So me bringing that up, there's so many preconceived notions and myths about hypnosis of A, what it has to look like, B, how we have to practition it, and C, what the results should be. But the results with SEH speak for themselves. So that's off my list. Breaking myths. Usually I do that within my first few minutes of meeting with a client, but getting it out to the general public as to hypnosis, there's no mind control. There's no all of the, it is not any sort of bad thing. Or I've heard many people say things like you're kind of messing with the spirit realm. And it's like the spirit realm is all around. Oh yeah. The spirit realm is all around us. It's just whether we're open to actually being a part of it, or if we just want to like, because we all get the, that's interesting, and I got that way before I was ever into anything like of spiritual mindness. So I don't know where I was going with that, but
Can I chime in on the husband thing?
yeah.
Which I find to be really interesting. So inevitably, it's always a spiritual spouse and a non-spiritual spouse. It's just, I don't know what it is. It's like peanut butter and like it just peanut butter and jelly, like it goes together for some reason. And so I'm doing the requisite mentioning of Charles at least one time during a live. I've realized this is apparently a thing I do every time. So I have a husband. Charles is amazing. Love him very much. And he actually asked me for a session a couple of days ago. Yeah, and he was not interested in hypnosis when I first started. He was actually kind of fearful of it. He thought it was just going to be some like weird channeling. I mentioned in a previous live that he had just been reading Under the Banner of Heaven by John Krakauer, where these Mormons get these messages from God and they end up murdering people because of it. It was like, do I need to be nervous? And I'm like, I'm not going to murder anybody because of hypnosis. And so that's where he started with that. And then fast forward several years later, he asked me a few days ago, and the reason that he wants to have a session is that he's still really, really grieving the loss of our cat. And he remembered that I facilitated a session for him years ago, getting close to 10 years ago, when we lost our last ferret, like weasel ferret, and his name was Squeaks. And when I facilitated a session, because Charles really, really loves animals. And so he got to see Squeaks with his mom, like in the spirit realm. And just like that one piece of information made him feel so much better about Squeaks being gone. And I've been saying to him for months now, because football passed in late March and he's so sad about it. And I was like, Charles, just have a session. Like, remember the Squeaks message and how you felt a lot better? And he goes, I don't want to feel better about her being gone. And I was like, it's okay to feel better. Like, she knows how much you loved her. And so I think that he's getting to the point 8 months later where he's realizing like this, like he's starting to like hurt himself about being this sad all the time about her being gone. And so thank God that he has a tool like hypnosis in his life. And I wish that more people had this tool. So I think it's up to us to, whenever people are out there spreading, not intentionally harmfully, but they are spreading these misconceptions, that it's up to us to use our voices and our knowledge and say like, no, it's actually like a lot of brilliant people, a lot of famous people, a lot of really successful people utilize hypnosis, and none of those people are weak-minded. They're not lacking in IQ. They're, these are people that you would love to have on your team, and they utilize hypnosis because they understand that it helps them with their productivity and it helps them with their happiness. And who wouldn't want something that's helpful with that? So yeah, the husbands can be converted. I think pretty much anybody can be converted.
Now, did you get to everything that you wrote down there from the earlier question?
Do you mean whenever I was taking notes that I wanted to? Yeah, I actually hit all the points.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I have a deviation from the question in regards to spouses and partners. Do you think having our learning SEH benefits the relationship that individuals have? I know the other day when you guys were on, I think it was Friday, you were talking about throwing information out in regards to having a past life and telling that person about what they did in the past life. I know some of that part can be difficult, but overall, when someone starts to go down that road, is it beneficial to the actual relationship, even when you have someone that's a skeptic, or can it be create more discussion?
I have two answers. Liz, do you want to go first, or do you want me to go first?
The overall from a specific, let me clarify first, the specific session that necessarily wasn't beneficial for him, but it was for me, yeah, I probably wouldn't. But overall, hypnosis has improved my relationship with my partner, with my kids, with my friends, with my associates, with clients. Every single, I think on now thinking about it in that context, that is probably the number one improvement outside of myself is in my relationships with people, because I am a little bit softer. I am more empathetic. I'm also a lot more confident. Like I have this, I feel good about who I am on the inside. And that really permeates every area, especially in my relationship with my partner. And I'm able to see when I'm in hypnosis for myself, um, my partner or my kids or, whoever I'm focused on in the moment, their perspective, as opposed to when I'm just with them face to face. I can't like become objective necessarily, but when I'm under, I definitely can. And clients, exact same thing as far as relationship improvement, marriage, uh, boyfriend, girlfriend. Sometimes if they're in toxic relationships, they start to get into a place where they start to feel confident about who they are and they're able to move forward from that. Relationships with our pets, just an overall sense of like feeling good and secure and confident, and just all of those areas definitely improved. I don't know if that answered your question as far as the relationship part goes.
Yes,
And
definitely.
then, you ready for me to chime in?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So one thing that Liz was mentioning earlier, and I really want to drive this point home as far as how this is also a way that SEH is so different from the other certification programs. When you are an SEH student and you are preparing to become a hypnotherapist practitioner of SEH, you're not just learning how to facilitate these sessions, you are receiving these sessions. So the way that we've structured it is really brilliant, where you are session swapping with a classmate. So that means that they get to practice on you and you get to practice on them. This is beneficial for multiple reasons. One, yes, it's good for you to practice. Two, the best practice, honestly, isn't from the practitioner side. The best practice for you as a facilitator is actually to be on the client side and to live and breathe and embody what the client is going to be experiencing as a result of these scripts, as a result of these sessions. You are a much better navigator and guide and teammate to your clients when you've been on the client side. It's kind of like if you were to say to somebody, hey, I'd like for you to take me on a tour of Egypt. Have you ever been there? And they're like, no, but I've read a bunch of books about it. Like, but you've not actually been there yourself. No, but I watched a YouTube video. No, you want somebody who's been on the inside of it, right? And so with SEH, you're on the client side over and over and over again. So that's one big benefit. The other big benefit is when you are on the client side, it is just inevitable that yes, you're going to improve professionally, but you're also going to improve personally because you're getting to receive so much hypnosis so consistently. And SEH is really great because it helps you immediately. So you'll see very quick positive changes in your life. And it also helps you in the long term. And it also helps you grow. So SEH always meets you where you are. So wherever you are in the beginning, you're going to shoot up with a lot of positive changes, but then it's not going to stop there. It's going to keep having these positive changes that grow and grow and grow and evolve over time. So there's that benefit. But then, as Liz was saying, there's also this ripple effect where inevitably, if you are happier, your relationships are going to be happier. If you're more calm and confident, that is going to permeate, as Liz was saying, all of your relationships. And then, Erin, I want to make sure that I've got a couple of really interesting stories. One is about very, very directly impacting relationships, and the other one is about skeptics. And so I think I'll go with the directly impacting relationships, and then I'll talk about skeptics. What's really interesting with Soul Empowering Hypnosis is that you can get really very specific about your goals and your intentions for a session. Again, because it doesn't need to fit inside of a box. It can be whatever you need it to be. And so I was working with a client one time, and he had just this atrocious boss that was mean to him and mean to everybody. And this guy just would not give anybody a break. And my client had been working for this guy for years, and there was seemingly no end in sight. He was trying to apply for other jobs, but he wasn't getting them. He was like, like I'm really stuck with this guy. And so what we did in that session is we set the intention of connecting with that gentleman and his soul. And we're like, come on, man, like if there's any way to be nicer, just be nicer, right? And so my client, he comes back, he's having another follow-up session. He goes, you are never going to believe this. My boss is actually nice to me now. I was like, are you serious? Because like apparently this guy had been like really rough on him for years. Like this had been going on for a very long time. I was like, are you serious? He's actually nicer now. And he goes, yeah, I don't understand. Like it worked. And then I say, because I'm such a Pollyanna optimist, then I say, wow, like that's so amazing. Look at what you did. Like you had changed this boss's life. Like now he is just going to be so nice to people and his life is forever changed because of you. Like I'm getting a real big picture. I think we've done like a massive thing. And the client laughs and he goes, no, it's not like that at all. I was like, what do you mean? He goes, he's not nice to anybody else. He's just nice to me now. I was like, oh, okay. Okay. Here I am thinking we're changing the world, but he was nice to my clients. So that was good. And then the other story that I'll tell is that in the beginning, when I first became a practitioner, I was fully convinced that I would be able to help skeptics. We have to remember, skeptics are skeptics for a reason. They're getting something out of it. Like we don't understand what they're getting out of it, but they understand what they're getting out of it. And a lot of times it's that they were let down deeply by a thing that they believed in, and they don't want to be hurt like that again. And that's understandable, right? And so, but before years ago, in my first year as a practitioner, I was practicing with anybody I could get my hands on. I knew a lot of meditators. I had a lot of friends. I was like, just let me practice because I want to get really good at this so I can help clients the best I possibly can. And so I got to give him credit. There was this one colleague of Charles who is a skeptic, atheist, like really thinks like just does this haughty laughing at everything that I believe in, like really almost seems to detest it, honestly. But he was like, I'll try it. I'm like, are you serious? And so he's trying a session and he got into a past life. And I was like, are you kidding me? He was actually the first gentleman I was able to get into a past life. All the women I had been able to get in, none of the men, they had all gone into early childhood instead of past lives. This skeptic was the first guy that I got into a past life. And he is he's on a boat. He has a little sister, not in the current life, just in the past life. And she falls overboard and she drowns. And he's very upset by all of this. And I'm sitting there thinking, I had just totally changed his belief system. Like, I've done it. Okay, I'm young, I'm naive, I'm cocky. I'm like, I've done it. Like, I have forever fixed this guy, right? And so then he comes out of the session and I was like, what do you think? And he was like, oh, that was interesting. I was like, interesting? I was like, I think it deserves a bigger word than that. And then I was like, so like you get it now, right? Like, you understand that, like, when we die, it's not over. Like, there's so much more, and that we have past lives, and reincarnation is real. And he was like, oh no, I don't think that at all. And I was like, what do you mean? And he goes, I think I just made all of that up. I was like, I'm like, what? And he goes, you asked me to go into a past life and I did. And I was like, it's not that easy. Other people can't do it that easy. And so, like, even with the emotions, all of it, like, he just thought he was making it up. And I'm like, okay, all right. I'm sure he's a skeptic to this day. And that was a decade ago.
So for basically in the training, would a person expect to be doing an exchange on the very first day?
Okay. So you know what? This
Or-
is a good segue into Kelsey. Kelsey, love you. Know you're watching the recording. I wanted to make sure that I answer her question that she sent in because I know she's going to be watching this recording. And so what she asked, and it's perfect, Erin. She said, so Soul Empowering Hypnosis certification training, it's a hybrid, right? So you've got pre-recorded content, but you also have a lot of live engagement. And the live engagement, those are the session swaps. The live engagement is that you get regular meetings one-on-one with Liz and I. The live engagement is that you also have small group meetings once a month with Liz and I. So there's a lot of live connection. And then also I'm on WhatsApp all the time. And so I'll have students that will send me messages, questions, voice recordings, asking me questions, telling me about a session and how it went and what would I have done in that situation. And then I can do my voice recording and let them know. And I love WhatsApp because you can play it back at a 2 times playback speed. So a 6-minute recording becomes a 3-minute recording, which is awesome. And so there's all of this live back and forth, right? And these live meetings. And so what she's asking Kelsey is, she said, well, I get it. It's pre-recorded, but there's also live. So what happens with these lives? Are they weekly? Are they bi-monthly? Is it a certain time of day or a certain day of week? And so I want to say there are a few different answers. When it comes to the session swaps, it's whatever the schedule is that works out well for the 2 students, right? So it's whenever they want to meet. And those session swaps, they plan for 3 hours total. So an hour and a half for student A to be practitioner, and then student B to be the client. And then they swap roles for about an hour and a half. And so it's about a 3-hour meeting between the 2 of them. But then when it comes to the one-on-one meetings, it's about once per month. If you ever need a little more, you can. Sometimes people need a little less, but on average, it's about once per month. And again, just whenever the timing works for Liz and the student or Courtney and the student. And then when it comes to the group meetings, that is the second Sunday of the month at 10 a.m. Pacific. So that one is scheduled and consistent. And then Erin, you were saying, okay, so from the first class, are they going to be doing a session swap? So when I used to teach these, the level 1, 2, and 3, all of them, I taught them live. Heck yes. And that startled some people where they were like, wait, from the first class, we're going to do a session swap? Yes. We didn't come here to talk. We talk every day of our lives. We came here to do hypnosis. And so that's another thing. And I'm glad that this is coming up. The huge difference, could not be more different from the other certification trainings. And again, this is in 2016, so maybe some things are different. When I did my level 2 QHHT, I flew all the way out to Dublin. I was there for at least 3, maybe 4 days. Not one session was scheduled for us to be able to do a session swap. We had to do that outside of class time, late into the evening, jet lagged as we were, hours of being in class. And so it shocks me. And then LBL, 5-day training, I believe was 1 session swap. There could have been a second one, but I'm pretty sure it's just 1 session swap. You're telling me, guys, certification programs, you can do better. You're telling me that in a 3-day period, a 5-day period, that you're going to get 1, sometimes 0 hypnosis sessions? Why? Why? And so with SEH, you know what we really like at SEH? We really like hypnosis. You know why? Because it works, because it changes your life. Like, why would you not be doing hypnosis? So yeah, it's something that that you will be doing from the very first class. And I have a very funny story. I'll keep it very short. SEH is so user-friendly. It is so easy that one of my students ended up facilitating a session on her very first day of class, not knowing she was going to be a practitioner that day. How can that happen? Let me take you back in time a little bit. Okay, when SEH first started, the way that I set it up is that people could sign up as a practitioner to take the class or as a client to take the class, because not everybody wants to be a practitioner, right? And so it was perfect until it wasn't. So I think it was that I allowed maybe 11 client roles and 11 practitioner roles for 22 people total. Now, if everybody had come to every class, it would have been fine. But sometimes practitioners had reasons that they couldn't come to class. And then I would end up with clients that had no practitioner. And I was like, this cannot be. Now, the silver lining was that we developed Soul Chat, which is amazing. You learn that in level 3 of the SEH certification training. So it all worked out okay. But it also made me stressed out every single week, not knowing if we were going to have the right number of practitioners versus clients. So the reason I say that is that Hani, who sometimes like chimes in and says hi on these lives, Hani, she signed up for the second version of SEH, which was me going, all right, everybody, you got to be a practitioner. Like, you got to be a practitioner. We can't do this client practitioner thing anymore. The numbers just unfortunately don't work out every single time. And so she had already done the client version. She didn't read the changes. She was just like, yeah, I want to do this again. This was amazing. I want to be the client again. Just purchased it, signed up, thought that it was going to be structured the same way. It wasn't. And I was saying to everybody, okay, you're going to be a practitioner. We're going to take a 5-minute bathroom break. If you haven't printed out the script, just make sure you do, because we're going to be doing hypnosis as soon as you guys come back from the bathroom break. Everybody goes to the bathroom except for Hani, and she goes, Courtney. This is Zoom. This is all on Zoom, by the way. She goes, Courtney, is everybody facilitating hypnosis right now? Like, everybody's going to be a practitioner right now? Is everybody doing hypnosis today? And I was like, yeah. I was like, of course. And she goes, I did not know I was going to be facilitating a session. I thought I was signing up as a client. I'm like, honey, did you not? And she's a teacher and she didn't read the instructions. That cracks me up. I'm like, honey, did you not read the instructions? She's like, no, I just thought it'd be like last time. I'm like, it's not. You're going to be facilitating. I was like, you better get your printer turned on, because you got to print the script out, because you're about to facilitate a session. She's like, oh my God. So she runs. I don't even think she peed. She probably just printed the thing. So she runs, she prints it, she comes back. She, not having read it at all before, facilitated a session. And then at the end, when we're all back together in the same room, she goes, you guys have the best job in the world. This is the best thing ever. This is so great. And I'm like, I know, right? So in those conditions, that's how user-friendly SEH is. So guys, we have 3 minutes left. Let's channel to connect with Brian, Dolores. I know Liz can't come on Wednesday. Maybe we could all come together on Friday. You guys want to come back together on Friday? Aaron, you available on Friday? Yes. Okay. All right. We'll do this again. We'll do the channeling. We'll answer some more questions. But Kelsey, girl, basically it's a little bit structured and it's a whole lot of flexible. And it's really just that one second Sunday of the month at 10 a.m. Pacific when the small group comes together. Everything else is just very, very flexible. So whatever works for your schedule. Okay. Aaron, Liz, do you have anything to say about that?
Nope.
Okay. Aaron, do you have any final questions?
No, that's enough for now.
I know, right? And guys, I just want to say this. Anybody who's listening can tell that I'm super passionate about this. And I'm trying to describe the energy that I have for this. I feel like hypnosis is amazing. And we have figured out the way to do it that really works for everyone. And I get that there are these other programs out there. And again, I have a lot of respect for them and I have a lot of gratitude for them. And I'm so, so happy that they have put hypnosis in the forefront of a lot of people's minds. It still is something that can be improved upon. It still is something where you can evolve from it. And so for me, I get really, really animated about it because it's so exciting that we have done those improvements. We have done that evolving. And I also get very protective of this because when I see those other programs still holding tight, and they know better, but they still cling and hold tight to the past. like they can't make changes, like they shouldn't make changes, that's when I've got to be over here going like, all right, come on. Who is finally going to say this stuff out loud? Because all of the practitioners are talking about how outdated these other styles of hypnosis are. We all know it. We all talk about it. And somebody just needs to start saying this stuff out loud. And I'm fine with being the one who says it. And Liz, thank you for being brave. And Aaron, thank you for asking these questions. So guys, because we have 1 minute left and I'm just like ready to go. If you want to connect with Liz, she's an amazing, amazing practitioner. Please connect with her. Her website is Shift with Hypnosis. Liz, I'm saying that right?
You got it.
Okay. Shiftwithhypnosis.com. Make sure that you connect with her to have a one-on-one session. Aaron's IG is peace, the number 4, healers. Aaron, I want you to give people, if you're okay with it, can you give people your email address just in case they don't have Instagram and they want to do a gifts and guides reading with you?
Yeah, it's peace4healers@gmail.com.
Oh.
There you go, guys. It's on the screen. It's
simple.
easy. And he is so gifted. He's a very, very strong, intuitive, clairvoyant, clairaudient, clairsentient. I had a gifts and guides session with him just a couple of days ago, and he's so good at tapping in and confirming, validating, and also bringing in new information that you were previously unaware of. So make sure that you message him. And you can also go to CourtneyStarkey.com, and you can find all the good hypnosis resources right there, including how to get SEH certified, plus a lot of other hypnosis resources that are available to you at every price point. If you need free is there. If you want to get trained, training is there. If you want to just be a client, being a client is there. If you want to do group hypnosis once a month, that is there. So you should definitely go to CourtneyStarkey.com, check it out. So many good resources you cannot miss with these 3, Courtney and Liz and Aaron. You're golden. All right, everybody. Love you guys. So happy you guys are coming back on Friday. And maybe I'll let somebody else talk. I should let somebody else talk.
You're
okay.
good.
I love you guys. You're very patient with me. Okay, let's go ahead and end the stream. Everybody, see you guys on Wednesday. It'll be just me. Is that true? I think so. And then, yeah, we'll do the trio together again.